All right, Bobcats, here we go for the second assignment of NFL project, which is titled Week 1 because we're dealing with Week 1 statistics from the NFL season. If you look over here, you'll see that there's a short list, which is very brief description of what you need to accomplish this week. And then below that is the detailed list. Detailed list is what you want to make sure you read as a group. The short list just kind of simplifies everything that you're going to have to do. What we're going to be covering in this video is how to make a new spreadsheet from last week's spreadsheet, and you're going to title it Week 1 Prediction, and how to insert a graph onto that spreadsheet. So let's go ahead and get right to it. So we're going to go over here to last week's spreadsheet. I'm using period 1 group 6's spreadsheet because they did a great job. So if you look, period 1 group 6 identified their team member names, and each team member's role. So the first thing that we need to do is we need to make a copy of this and retitle it. So we're going to title it period 1 group 6 week 1 prediction. So whatever period you have, math, and whatever group you're in, that's what will be different. And you click OK. Once you clicked OK, you're going to notice in the top left-hand corner where it says your period, your group, and the week 1 prediction. So now we know we've successfully made a copy. So now that we have a copy, we're going to need to go ahead and get the data. So you're going to retrieve the data from coming over here to the NFL Pass Prediction Project page, resources needed, pass attempts and completion by team. And now you'll see that there is a list of the teams. Now notice where it says G, that's the number of games played. So game 1 all the way down. So there's no teams that have more than 1 game played at this point. So now we are looking for the New Orleans Saints. They're the third team down because that's the team that group 6 is following from period 1. And we're going to come over here to this column where the 30 is, and that is the pass completions. That's the number of actual catches that occur was 30. Now the ATT column is the pass attempts. So the number of times they've tried to throw the ball and get it caught was 48. The attempts will always be bigger than the completions. Unless they had 100% throwing rate, the attempts will always be bigger. So the two numbers I'm looking at is for attempts is 48, for completions is 30. So I'm going to go back to my week 1 prediction. My attempts was 48. My completions was 30. Now, working in spreadsheets is awesome because it takes away from having to do some of the tedious calculations of addition. So if I come here to this column where it says 48 and I go to the bottom right of the cell, I'm going to right click and scroll down, and what it's going to do is it is going to copy what I have in that first cell. So notice that over here in the cumulative pass total, it adds it up for me. So remember, week 1, the assignment says that we are seeing what would happen if the same thing happened every week as in week 1 for your team. So in this case, if the New Orleans Saints had the same results each week, this is the total number of pass attempts they would have after 17 games. They had 816. So if they have the same completions each week as they did from the first week's game, we're just going to go ahead and do the copy all the way down. So if they had a season where each week the exact same thing happened concerning their pass attempts and completions, they would have 816 total pass attempts to 510. All right, so we've entered the data. We have created a table. Now there's some questions that your group's going to need to ask about these as to whether or not this is proportional. But for you, that's doing the spreadsheet part of this, the next thing that you're going to need to do is insert a graph. So I'm going to highlight the information that we want to graph, which is the cumulative total. I'm going to go ahead and go over here to insert. I'm going to insert a chart. I'm going to pick my graph, which over here I see is a line graph, so I'm going to go ahead and click that and insert. I'm going to resize it to fit the screen right underneath where the names are at. All right. Maybe slide it over a little bit, make it nice and cozy in there. I'm going to click on the axis, the horizontal axis, and it says edit horizontal axis, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go and go to the horizontal axis title. And we're going to title the horizontal axis the cumulative pass attempts. The horizontal axis is the pass attempts because, one second, cumulative pass attempts. Hit enter, and notice it says cumulative pass attempts. Now, the horizontal axis is called our independent variable. It's also called our input. You cannot have a completion without an attempt. So the attempt is what we call our independent variable. It is not dependent upon catches for it to occur. You can attempt to throw the ball even if it's not caught. Now looking at our other axis, we're going to go ahead and right click. I'm going to go over here. I'm just going to right click in the graph area, go over to axis, and it's going to say left vertical axis title. And that title for our left vertical axis is going to be pass completions, cumulative pass completions. All right, so we have cumulative pass completions. And the reason that is our y-axis is the y-axis is our dependent variable, meaning in order for this result to occur, it is dependent upon whatever the axis is. So you cannot have a pass completion. You cannot have someone catch a pass unless a pass was attempted. All right, so now that we have our axis labeled, let's go ahead and clean up our labels, and let's go ahead and go with a 0 for our minimum. So now that notice that we have a 0 down here, and let's go ahead and maybe see if we can shorten up our maximum and get it in a smaller range and go with 900. And so notice how it just kind of makes our graph a little bit smaller, more manageable. And then when we look at our y-axis, we want to go from 0 to 600 is good. I mean, it's within the range. So now notice that we have a line graph, but we don't have any points, which is fine, but I'm going to put them in there because I want to. So in order to make that happen, I'm going to go ahead and right click, and I'm going to change my chart type over here to scatter plots. And what you're going to notice is, notice now we have individual points for each week. And so it just makes it a little easier to see each event. So now let's go ahead and right click again. And what I'm looking for, let's go to advanced edit. All right, let's click advanced edit. And I'm going to scroll down here. And I am going to first start off with where it says trend line. And I'm going to hit linear. And so all that's going to do is add a line to our data. And now let's go ahead and let's see. So where it says minor grid lines, let's go ahead and go with every 5. All right, 5 minor grid lines in between every major grid line. So, I mean, we can make it smaller if we wanted. Um, let's see. So that was for horizontal axis. So let's go ahead and now let's look at our left vertical axis. Let's go ahead and do that exact same thing. Minor grid lines for 5. All we're doing here is just working with how the graph's presented. It's not necessary to do this, but it just kind of makes the graph look a little more formal, a little easier to read, allows you to sort of estimate what's going on. So we're going to update that graph, and boom. So the person that is responsible for this part of the assignment would be done at this point. They have made their week 1 prediction, is if week 1 events occurred throughout the whole season, and they have created a graph and inserted it to what they're going to turn into me. And then you just go up here to share, click share, make sure you share it with me and the members of your group, click done, and you are done. So that's how to work with this. Now, do realize that your group has a lot to accomplish. They also need to make a Google Doc and share it with me, and the details of that are in the detailed list. But get busy and get this spreadsheet turned in. Should be the easier thing to do with this video. If you have any questions, as always, ask myself or your group.